I want to start with the Steelers. It is week 2, and it's understood that veteran quarterbacks over the course of a season get arm fatigue. They get hit a few times. What you're concerned about with an older Brady, Breeze in his last couple of years, Phillip Rivers is, how are they post-Thanksgiving? They're usually pretty fresh early. It is week 2, and Big Ben looks like something from the Jurassic era. He has no mobility. He has never been good pre-snap. The Steelers' offense, with a rebuilding offensive line, is basically throw it deep to Chase Claypool and cross your fingers. Najee Harris appears to be a really nice player. But this offense, Big Ben through 2 games, a couple of touchdowns, a pick. This is not a team that can get to the playoffs. As good as that defensive front 7 is, they were taken apart by Derek Carr. If you watch that Steelers-Raiders game, Derek Carr was so far superior playing on the road to Big Ben. Accuracy, deep ball, managing the line of scrimmage, and the Steeler operation has coddled Big Ben. So they really haven't, over the last 2 or 3 years, aggressively drafted an elite quarterback in the first or second round. Green Bay did, and Aaron Rodgers showed a slight decline. Even Tampa last year, second round, they're going to go get somebody, and Brady won a Super Bowl. The Steelers right now are not close to a Super Bowl team with this offense. And if you watch that game, Derek Carr was so much better than Big Ben. It was embarrassing if you're a Steeler fan. I want to talk about the best young coach in football. And it's not necessarily Sean McVay. It's clear that it's not only an indictment on the New York Jets operation, but what you're seeing with Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers is pretty remarkable. The knock on Darnold out of college, they're 2-0 with 2 comfortable wins. But the knock on Darnold out of college, and I watched every snap, was his accuracy issues. What is he completing now? 70% of his throws. He doesn't make the mistakes. Total composure. It would be easy to just say this is an indictment on the Jets. But instead of just the negative side, let's look realistically at the positive side. Not only has Matt Rule made Darnold more comfortable, this defense has 21 quarterback hits and 10 sacks in 2 games. What does that tell you? The culture of the Carolina Panthers is headed in the right direction. It also tells you this is a remarkable stat on Matt Rule, the coach of Carolina. Going back to the beginning of last year, you will not believe this. Carolina leads the NFL with the fewest 3-and-outs. That's with Teddy Bridgewater and a start with Sam Darnold. Now think about that. Not Mahomes, not Lamar Jackson, not Tom Brady, not Derek Carr, not Matt Ryan, not Russell Wilson, not Aaron Rodgers. No, the fewest 3-and-outs. Matt Rule, Teddy Bridgewater, and Sam Darnold. And this is an organization. They drafted a tackle out of BYU. They have a good right tackle. They drafted a young left tackle out of BYU. I'm not sure if he's good enough, athletic enough to play left tackle. But this is a offensive line that outside of right tackle graded poorly, left tackle all the way to right guard. What Matt Rule is doing with this suboptimal offensive line, the scarce number of 3-and-outs, the rebooting of Sam Darnold is really mind-blowing. You hire these college coaches and you cross your fingers. You don't really know. But he appears to be I know it's early. I know it's like 18 games. But watching Sam Darnold play, the comfort in which he plays the position now is stark. It is obvious. Third thing I want to talk about. I like Tua out of college, and then before he started, I went on the air and said, I think Tua is going to be a big miss. My belief with quarterbacks is you got to give me some special. size, mobility, arm, something. Joe Burrow, swag, confidence. So I said before Tua really played, I said, I just don't see it. I think he's going to be a miss. And in the NFL, it's always sort of understood that a GM who drafts a quarterback in the first round does not want to acknowledge, I missed on my quarterback. The Arizona Cardinals GM, Steve Keim, deserves a lot of credit. They went and got Josh Rosen, and the following year, Steve Keim put his ego aside and went and drafted Kyler Murray, acknowledging, I whiffed on our first pick. Well, Kyler Murray has obviously been an MVP-level home run selection. But I said the Dolphins have done a great job. Chris Greer, the GM, and Brian Flores. But I think they missed on their quarterback. And last year was a great quarterback class. And I said, I think they have to acknowledge we kind of whiffed on the quarterback. I mean, Tua was 6-3, but threw for under 200 yards multiple times. Injury history, small. He's an accurate thrower when a play is designed perfectly, but that's like saying your house has a good foundation. That's the minimum you need to have a house. Like the foundation has to be solid, or you pick the wrong house. Accuracy is important, but it's sort of a given in this league. But the other thing to think about is Bill Polian told me this years ago that when he drafted Peyton Manning, it changed the way he drafted for years after that. He said, we knew with Peyton Manning we'd be playing with the lead. So we went and drafted pass rushers, knowing that we would have second half leads for most of our games. You also have to draft based on what's in your division. If you're in the Seahawks division and Arizona's division and you face Russell Wilson twice a year and Kyler Murray twice a year, the Rams need to realize we have to draft athletic linebackers and athletic defensive linemen. We have two of the cagiest, most active mobile quarterbacks in the league. When I'm Miami and I look at Josh Allen walk into my place, forget the score, forget the domination. You knew last year before the draft how gifted Josh Allen was. 6'6", huge top 2-3 arm in the league, great mobility. Now think about that. Over the next 10 years, you'll face Josh Allen minimum 20 times. If Tua is your quarterback, you will go into those games 20 for 20 at a decided athletic, size, and arm disadvantage. I think the Dolphins made a big mistake not drafting another quarterback. To watch Josh Allen pick apart that Miami defense. And nobody blames athletes for getting hurt. Tua got hurt again. But this has been the stigma with Tua, his health. He's a smaller athlete. And we know this. I mean, Big Ben, Cam, Justin Herbert, they can take more hits. He got sacked a couple of times yesterday, got hit in the ribs. Tua's out. So the injury question surfaces again. Miami has done virtually everything right. But in this league, if you get the quarterback wrong, it doesn't matter. I want to talk about this. We always talk about how hard it is to find the right quarterback. But I want to talk about the Titans and the Atlanta Falcons and Arthur Smith, who was the offensive coordinator for Tennessee, took a job with Atlanta. That if I said to you who are the top 7 to 8 coaches in the league, virtually all of them would be veteran coaches. John Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, Sean Payton, Andy Reid. Overwhelmingly older guys. Why? Because you think quarterbacks are a roll of the dice. About 25% of coordinators named head coach hit. Sean McVay hit. Sean McDermott hit. Brian Flores, I believe, hit. Arthur Smith is a fascinating test because clearly Ryan Tannehill, regardless of the win, Tannehill does not look the same as he did the previous 2 years with Arthur Smith. But he goes to Atlanta, and this Atlanta team has real offensive weapons. Russell Gage, Mike Davis, the running back, Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley. Matt Ryan has been an MVP. 2 ugly blowout losses. This organization, Atlanta, looks completely lost. And, it points to something that we know this in our politics. There are just vice presidents who are not presidential. And I look at Arthur Smith, and two people suffered. Atlanta as the worst team I've seen so far. Also wanted to throw this out about Tom Brady. During the offseason, Russell Wilson put his name out there for several teams that he would be willing to go to. And there was this argument or debate, how many first-round picks would Russell Wilson be worth? Well, obviously, if you look at the mayhem in Chicago with Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, Matt Nagy's probably not going to make it through. The GM's going to get fired. Russell Wilson would be worth, despite his loss yesterday, would be worth, to me, 5 first-round picks. But I find it fascinating watching Tom Brady, how small the market was for Tom Brady. Do you realize Brady with 14 more touchdown passes will end up with more touchdowns in his 40s than in his 20s? Now, what does that mean? Is he better than he was in his 20s? No, the game has changed. And it is remarkable that only the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the LA Chargers, this was pre-Justin Herbert draft, were aggressively pursuing him. Now, those are two of the best GMs in the league, Tom Telesco of the Chargers and Jason Light of the Bucs. But it's pretty remarkable that in an offensive league, when we know the value of the quarterbacks, that only 2 teams made a run at the greatest quarterback of our lives. And, you know, the thing that's amazing about what quarterbacks do, now again, Russell Wilson lost yesterday, but Pete Carroll had been fired twice and had a losing record in Seattle. And if he stays coaching 3 to 4 more years, he will end up in Canton as a Hall of Fame coach because of Russell Wilson. Did anybody talk about Jason Light, the GM of the Buccaneers, before Brady got there? Now we laud him as one of the great talent evaluators in the industry. Bruce Arians, retired, did broadcasting. That didn't work. Goes to Tampa, struggling. And now Bruce Arians, if he wins another, will wear a gold jacket. If you get the quarterback right, everything else just works. Everything works. Look at how we view Tampa this morning. The GM, the coach. Look at how we view Antonio Brown. Look at how we view the franchise. It's remarkable. Only 2 teams aggressively pursued Tom Brady. And again, he's going to end up with more touchdown passes in his 40s than his 20s. I don't think he's as good as he was in his late 20s. But the game has so changed. The rules are so offensive-minded that from this point forward, when we get into these discussions about what is a quarterback worth, well, forget the ownership position on merchandise sales and television appearances. I mean, that Buccaneers now are a primetime team. They're going to double to triple their merchandise sales if you own it. But there really is no cap on what Tom Brady is worth. I mean, you tell me, what is he worth to the Glazers? What is he worth to Jason Light? What is he worth to Bruce Arians? Is he worth a gold jacket? Russell Wilson's going to get Pete Carroll a gold jacket. Tom Brady is going to get Bruce Arians with another title, a gold jacket. And so anytime we get into these discussions, how much can you give up? How much is this aging quarterback worth? It's like the old commercial, priceless. There is no market for what Brady's worth. There is no market for what Russell Wilson has done to Pete Carroll and John Schneider's legacy. I just watched Brady and I think to myself, retire? To what? A beach? I mean, Tom Brady right now, I watched him against Atlanta, and my takeaway is Brady not only chose the right franchise in terms of weapons. They obviously had, Tom, when he interviewed with Jason Light, came out and said, listen, I know Chris Godwin, I know Mike Evans, you guys do need a right tackle. I mean, he told them what they needed. But it is almost as if, this is why people retire to Florida when they get over 60. Brady looks healthier because he's in that humidity constantly. And I think it's loosened him up physically. I think it's loosened up his personality. I just watch Brady right now, and I'm like, I just can't get over it. 32 teams, 30 weren't interested. They look like the best offense in this league, in the NFC. I mean, this morning, who challenges them in the NFC? The Rams? Maybe? I think they're several steps ahead of Seattle, San Francisco, Green Bay. Remarkable.